Hi, I'm Tracy Teclaw, a naturopathic doctor, and I thank you so much for joining us. I think you're going to love the discussion we're going to have today. I'm so excited and honored to introduce you to Focus Life Force Energy, and today we have the founders, Clayten Stedmann and Jeffrey Stegman, with us today. And I think you're going to learn a lot today and really find this a fascinating conversation. So I met these guys through an interview over a year ago when I first heard about their service, and it blew me away. I've been working with earth energetics and Vastu and earth harmonization, EMF mitigation for over 10 years now. So I've learned many different methods to kind of help with that and harmonize the earth energies. And when I first turned on the service, I felt it immediately. It was so much easier to go into a meditation. I often felt the zinging and zapping from EMF around me, and with the FLFE service on, that all kind of really calmed down. I could just feel my nervous system calming down. And I'll have a lot more stories for you that I first want to introduce you to Clayten Stedman and Jeffrey Stegman. And I'd like to hear how the technology works and hear that from you. If you could explain how that works.
Well, I can start and hand it off to Clayten.
Beautiful.
This is Jeffrey Stegman. Nice to be on here with you, Tracy. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
I'm really glad to have you with us in the FLFE journey. So FLFE, also affectionately called Fluffy at times, wasn't our idea, but it stuck. It's a consciousness technology. So it's really akin to human consciousness and how it works. Say the effects of Reiki, of prayer for healing and recovery, even the bond between parent and child, you know, it's sort of timeless and without any distance limitations, that we've discovered a way to create that, what is a quantum association. And we believe all these examples in consciousness are the same thing, quantum association. So we've found a way to create that using a unique identifier of a property or a cell phone or an object, and we're activating a field, a high consciousness field.
Beautiful.
Yeah, as Jeff said, quantum association, it's a word that's used in our society quite often, and it oftentimes brings up images of you know, high technology supercomputers and maybe plasma arc generators and all those things. And for me, it's good to remind me that humans are extraordinary biomechanical, bioelectrical beings. And that when we pray for somebody or we send them a good, we've all had experience where, you know, we're thinking of somebody and all of a sudden the phone rings and there they are, right?
Oh yeah.
That's quantum association. It doesn't necessarily have to be that complicated where these bioelectrical amazing beings, and we do create these fields. We just haven't maybe understood it in that language, and sometimes we need to be reminded how powerful we are. So the technology is very similar to how a human being works. Okay. And if you think about praying for somebody, and if you had 1,000 people praying, you know, who were loving people and a loving thought, and if you had them praying with you 24/7, 365, it would be an influence that has a lot of similarities to the Focus Life Force Energy Service.
Okay, that's beautiful technology. I've always been, since I was a little girl, fascinated with what most people can't see. So I love my cell phone. I don't know how it works. I couldn't tell you how it works. The same thing with Wi-Fi and my satellite TV and things like that. I can't see it. I don't know how it works, but it works, and it works great. So that's kind of how I see this technology as well. You can't really see it, but you can certainly feel it, and quite noticeable difference for myself and any of my clients in my practice that have tried it. It's been astounding, the difference. one of the biggest things that I've noticed is, as a naturopathic doctor, I do a lot of unique types of testing to find out, how many and what dosage type of nutrition may be needed. And I have found that once they're, subscribed to the FLFE service, the Focused Life Force Energy service, the requirement on the amount of supplements just drastically reduces. And the more and more they work with me, I mean, we can get it down to very little, especially as they find it easier to work on their diet. They feel more satiated with the foods they're eating. And I just feel like it's harmonizing the food in the home too, just because of it's just a new energy that you have to work with now, without the chaotic energies that sometimes some of us can feel, some of us can't, but they're there. Yeah. What do you think about that?
Well, the FLFE service, activates this field, as we said, and there's more life force energy available. Chi, prana in some of the Eastern traditions. And so the other body picks that energy up and uses it, for its health and well-being. The innate intelligence of the body drives what's needed. But we've specifically added life force energy to food. And that includes vitamins or supplements that we're taking. So that additional energy is adding life force energy to that as it comes into our system through the digestion and the absorption into our cells and the rest of our body. So that was specifically done, for that purpose, because while our environment, the FLFE service creates an environment for our evolution, and that includes our health and well-being, which includes our nutrification.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'll add a little bit to that. So we have this technology that activates this high consciousness field, and the scale that we use to measure that, so that you can kind of have a relationship with the environment, is we use the Hawkins map of consciousness. It was created by Dr. David Hawkins. He was a psychologist, and he wrote a book called, he wrote 9 books while he was alive. His first one was Power versus Force, and it's a New York Times bestseller, so people can find that quite easily. And on page 68 to 69 in the middle of the book, there is a map of consciousness, and it explains the scale. And the scale goes from sort of 1 to infinity, but in the human realm, it's 1,000. It's a logarithmic scale. So 200 is integrity, 500 is love, 700 is kind of fully enlightened, 600 is peace. So the FLFE environment, we've tested that it's in the highest and best interest of all. We'll come back to that statement because that's a core value that we talked about earlier, Tracy. We've tested that the optimal environment is minimum 560 out of 1,000. So we guarantee that the environment will be on a 560 out of 1,000 or higher 98% of the time over a 24-hour period on the environment. Lots of homes are much higher. They're 580, 590, 600, even higher than that. The Hawkins map is logarithmic. So for every 1 point you go up, there's 10 times the amount of energy. And if you do the math on measuring the level of consciousness of 1,000 monks, you can actually figure out how many microwatts of positive energy they emanate depending at their level of consciousness. And you can kind of do the math and you can scientifically analyze that positive influence in that way. So what we do in the environment is we add the positive energy, and then we make these requests to divinity, which is what Jeff is talking about. So we made a request to divinity to energize the food as soon as it touches the saliva or enters the body in some other way. And because, as you know, Tracy, food or digestion is the most energy consuming process of the body. Not only do you have like free energy in the environment, not free energy that you can plug a toaster into, but you have extra energy. You have these programs, these requests to divinity, and as soon as the saliva touches the food, and a little bit of extra energy goes to the food and helps it digest, and it helps it assimilate, and it helps it move all the way up through the body. And so you get extra energy for the body to use
huge.
its own. That's huge.
Yeah.
And then we went
that
a level
alone,
deep.
I mean, without anything else, that alone is huge.
Yeah, and then we went a level deeper, and then we asked that we haven't done this for all the nutrients, but we've started to send this request to Divinity, this program, to each nutrient in the food. So the essential fatty acids, the magnesium, because we found that when we made that request and energized each nutrient, not only did the whole, gross matter of the food get energized, but each of these nutrients got energized, and it even added more absorbability. And that's why we've noticed with ourselves too, like we take a lot of supplements because we're trying to optimize our body. And like my supplement bill has gone down to like I'm at 40% of what it was.
Yeah.
And we're not even done with all the nutrients. We've got like some big ones. We've got EFAs, magnesium, zinc.
Yeah, I know. I remember I gave you a few.
Yeah, you gave us a few. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. That's wonderful. I mean, this technology, I'm just finding it does so much. And before I ever recommend anything for anyone in my practice or any of my clients that choose to work with me, I'm my biggest guinea pig. So I research it more than you can imagine. So, and that's what I did with this service. I took a good year to turn it on and off, test this, test that, work with different clients. And when I got that knowing to just, I got to call these guys, we've got to work together. This is just so exciting. So that's why I'm doing this now. Just everyone needs to learn about this and what you're doing here with this technology. Because I feel like all energy is good. It's what we do with it, the intention behind it, how we use it, how it's streaming as well. So, I love my cell phone, but I'm not going to sit on it all day. And, that's not healthy. I love Wi-Fi and a TV show now and then, but it's how we use it. And that's what I love about your technology and how that's harmonizing and helping us to harmonize the technology and use it for the greatest good, for our own divinity even. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that? Am I on the right track there?
Well, we believe that their technology is good. We can use it. It's a great convenience. Mm-hmm. Electricity, light, power, having heat, cooling now in the summer. Mm-hmm. So having that, and comes with it the possible negative effects, the entrainment that can happen, the too focused, but also just this spiky chaotic energy that can be produced. And so, in our commitment to the FLFE environment, that's one of the areas that we've really spent a lot of time on. And I'll let Clayton talk a little more about it, but that's a big focus, is how do we make use of these technologies and other things in the environment to positively affect us rather than reducing us, our life energy.
Right. Well, maybe you could even explain, because I'm using the word EMF, and maybe some people don't really understand what that means. Can you speak a little bit on that?
Well, I'll maybe pick it up and pass it back to Jeff.
Okay.
So when we hear EMFs these days, it's usually in the context of concern. And it's good to remember that, the Earth produces electromagnetic frequencies that we depend on. Our fingernails, so I'm talking to a health expert here, but our fingernails, I've been taught anyway, are conductors for the magnetic forces of the Earth. The same with our toenails. And I've heard from people that if they put nail polish on, they don't feel as connected to the Earth. So
I can't wear it.
Yeah. Okay.
It messes me up.
we hadn't talked about that, so I didn't want to, go down too far down that road with you. But yeah, so the Earth radiates these positive electromagnetic frequencies, and we've evolved as all the creatures on the planet have to work with those electricities, those energies, and they're part of us. So when we go into space, There's gravity that is different, but it's not the same connection to the earth.
No.
And there's something called the Schumann resonance that many people know about. So that's another example. We're in a pretty good state right now, so we're emanating electromagnetic frequencies. They're good. There's a book called The Secret Life of Plants. I'm noticing you have beautiful plants there.
Yeah.
So there's apparently they're it's kind of out there, but they're emanating electromagnetic frequencies, and so it's oftentimes heard of EMFs. It's like, oh, it's bad, and so we'll just start with that. Not all bad. So we specialize in a type of EMF harmonization, we'll call it, that works with consciousness lowering electromagnetic frequencies.
Mm.
So I'm going to pass that back over to Jeff, because he's
Okay, Jeff.
he's lots of research on this.
So the FLFE environment, as we've said, is, it's been our focus to have that be as pristine, as supportive as possible. And as Clayton said, we have a certain level of energy there that we guarantee, because we feel it's sort of the minimum level for our health and for our evolution. And we began noticing that there were properties that were not making the level. They weren't reaching that level of energy that we were expecting. And they may have reached it 2 weeks before, and now they don't. And so it was interesting. And so we use kinesiology. We test all of our properties once a week. We test new properties coming in at least, 3 times a week. But those current properties, we had some dropping. So we would pull up Google Earth, we'd take a look, we'd call the customer, and we'd find out something changed. So they had a new smart bank meter installed, or a smart meter bank, or they had a new tower across the street, a cell tower. So we began to connect the dots that there were certain EMFs that were lowering the level of consciousness of the property. They were affecting it that way. And so to us, this is our focus, is the environment, the level of consciousness, the energy. We see that as the health of the environment. And when it's dropping, then something is negatively affecting that environment.
Yeah.
And so we knew we had to do something about EMFs and geopathic stresses. We can talk about that later, but that's another influence on.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about that
Yeah,
a
on
little
the land
later.
and on structures. So we did a lot of research about the types of EMFs and this conscious lowering effect. Clayten had a breakthrough in looking at emitters. So we're looking at the environment. There's things in our environment that are emitting EMFs, like the computers we're talking on right now, our routers, our TVs, light bulbs. And then we have things coming in from outside. We've got transformers on the street pole. We've got, Wi-Fi coming in from outside, in some cases, 5G now.
Yeah, a lot of that.
A lot of that in places. So one of the breakthroughs was that we could raise the level of consciousness of the emitter within the environment. So we're asking the environment to be at this level. We're testing it's there. We can also ask for a consciousness lowering EMF emission device to go up in consciousness. So at 580 and higher for some routers, like 5G routers, take a higher level. At some certain level, now just think about this. So this is a vibrational field. At a higher level of consciousness, there's a higher vibration. There's more energy, positive energy. At some point, those antennas become changed, and what they're emitting becomes positive.
Right.
So now that router, instead of lowering the level of consciousness, starts raising the level.
It's raising it.
It's adding to the life force in the space. So I'll let you carry on with what things coming from the outside, because that's the other big concern for people.
We can't hear you, Clayten.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. When we were experimenting with this technology, I would be in my home and I would turn it off and I would go around and test kinesiologically all the different appliances in the house. Light bulb, and I touch it, and I would go negative, and I go to the router, it's like really negative, and I turn things on, and I turn it off. Sorry, I turn the service back on, and then I would test positive on those with kinesiology. So that's one of the main research tools we use. And that was a bit of a revelation. In fact, we have some customers who find that their pets have started sleeping on top of the routers because not only are they warm and pets like that warmth, but some of those routers are like emanating an energy of 600 on the Hawkins map, and that's like 560, to the power of like 40, right? So that's 560 times 5, because they're emanating this positive energy, and the pets don't know that there's a service on. They just go where the positivity is and where the heat is. Often. So that was a breakthrough. And then we were looking at, but that didn't solve all the problem. That just solved part of the problem. So that's like, well, how do we harmonize all these things coming in, all the satellites and the cell phone stuff, all the stuff that Jeff said, all the stuff we all know about? How do we take care of that? So we were doing research on EMFs, and we started coming across this material called shungite. And we discovered that shungite was the most appropriate material, and actually the only material that we found that can actually take an EMF, a consciousness lowering EMF signal, and make it positive from negative. So that's something we call harmonization. So when you're looking at trying to create an environment that's pristine, and you have consciousness lowering EMFs coming in, you can try to deflect the EMFs around the environment. You can try to dissipate them into like small particles so they kind of fall confetti before they get there. There's all these techniques you can use. Or you can harmonize. So harmonizing is taking it from being negative to positive. So we found a way to use the energetic signature or energetic essence of shungite in the environment. So it comes up into the environment and it moves out towards wherever a consciousness lowering EMF source is coming into the environment. So that's how we make it harmonized. And we have a tab on our website. So if people go through your website, Tracy, and they get to ours, there's a tab called Evidence. And we did research with different types of EMF devices, and we found that there's only one device that measures the subtle energy that FLFE is. So if you use a tri-field meter, you won't see much of a difference, and most other meters. But there is a device called the gas discharge visualization device.
Yes, I wanted to talk to you about that. Yeah. So that's awesome. Yes, so, please go into that.
Why don't I pass that back to Jeff?
Sure. So as we talked about earlier, the human system is amazing, and we can feel things. Just like Clayten said, he was using kinesiology to measure whether things were felt positive or negative to him. And I feel it in my body and as tension, like EMFs, because there's this spiky kind of energy, which the gas discharge visualization shows us. So if you go to the benefits page, there's an EMF mitigation section, and it's both there and in the evidence section Clayten mentioned. There's an interview with the practitioner that did the work for us, Melissa Waterman. She did a lot of work with Dr. Joe Dispenza, measuring the energy in his events. What we did was an environment over a 24-hour period with and without the FLFE influence. And so without FLFE, it's a very spiky energy. So the GDV device is taking a reading every few seconds, and then you're plotting that on a graph, and it's very up and down. It's very low, high, very spiky, chaotic. There's no regularity to it. And that's what I believe we feel in our bodies as muscle tension or anxiety. when I
Lack of
turned
sleep.
lack of sleep, yeah, we've got some incredible, you know, testimonials around that, particularly. Um, so the GDV camera then with FLFE on, it's much more harmonized, much more coherent is the way they describe it in that technology. So
Okay.
instead of being up and down spiky, it's just a narrow band of energy. And it represents that different feeling that you get. And we built this into the service, both in the free trial, which is no credit card, no billing,
I love
is
that.
a control panel. You can turn the EMF mitigation on and off. And that way you can feel it in your body. And personally, like I said, I feel that spiky energy as tension, and I feel the more coherence as a relaxation of my body and ability to take a deeper breath. And I think seems to be a lot of anxiety out in the world these days, not just the situation, but just kind of for no reason. And I believe, you
There's
know,
a
just
reason.
from, yeah, there's a reason. And me personally, I can tell through doing this experiment on and off that the reason is EMFs, because I don't feel it when the service is
Yeah.
on.
That's why I feel like now is an even more important time to at least try the service, because there is just a lot more technology that's coming on board. Whether you like it or not, it's there. And so it just seems like now is just a huge calling for something like this, like your technology, to help support mankind, plant life, animals, all of it, like you said. So I'm very grateful for the work you've done in bringing this technology to us. And then, like you mentioned, even allowing us to try it for 2 weeks at no charge. So, you know, that, I think that's amazing. That just shows your integrity and how much you believe in the service, and everyone should at least try it. That's what I think. Because they don't have to wait a year like I did to tell everybody, because it really does work really, really, really well. Can you give some examples? Because you mentioned you say the FLFE provides more energy for the body. Can you give some examples, maybe some testimonials that have been shared with you on how that is helping with someone's health?
Well, we get a lot of testimonials. We hear from customers through email and calling the office. We have long office hours. We support people with our staff. It's really, we love that connection with the customers. And also we have a private Facebook page, and we hear a lot there. And yeah, we hear a lot about both pets and people's, what they believe is a speed of healing. People seeing that in their pets that are either have some kind of issue that they see resolving much faster than they've seen in the past. And for people, there's something we call anti-stagnation, which is similar to like acupressure, where it's the unblocking of energy blockages in the meridian system. And so people feel that release, which then translates into, you know, the stuck things moving along faster, whether it's a long-term health issue or a habit they're trying to break or something like that.
Yeah,
So,
I can speak to that big time. I recently moved from one area to another, and in the kind of chaos of the move, I won't go into that, but I have 2 cats, and I brought them along with me on this crazy journey, right? And when doing that, when we finally got into the new house, I forgot to put FLFE on. I forgot to move the technology over into the new house. And my cat, I am not kidding, almost died. I had to rush him to the emergency room. He stopped breathing. And left him there overnight, ended up taking him to another doctor, had a bunch of expensive tests done, found out he had a heart valve that was reversed and the blood was flowing backwards and causing fluid to build up. So they're like, he's not going to live very much longer and you have to give him like all this medication, right? So I'm like, really? So I took him home and I went, oh, FLFE on. And I turned the FLFE on, and within a week he refused the medication. Absolutely would just not even go near the stuff. If I even brought it out of the drawer, he'd freak out. And he's never needed it again. And it's been almost a year now. No, it's been 8 months now. And I just found that fascinating. And that was just huge. He's playing around with the kitten now, and he's like, there's no sign of him having this heart defect. It's amazing. So that was a big one with the animal for me. And yeah, so, and also on that stagnation topic you were speaking about, I do a lot of work with making sure the meridians in the body, these are these energetic pathways in our body, and the energy has to flow. And when it can't, that's typically when you'll have an issue somewhere along that meridian that ties into organs, glands, systems, or body parts. And I do a lot of different therapies and also use a lot of different technology. And when this is on and I do the therapy, it releases like that. It is so much faster. And so I find I have to do a lot less therapies, and that's helpful to everyone's bottom line, which, natural health isn't covered by insurance these days. So everyone's, my goal is to help as many people as I can and make it affordable. So yeah, I've definitely found that with the service on at the center, the wellness center.
Yeah, we have lots of practitioners of various types on the service, and they find that the chiropractors, that the adjustments are easier and they stay stronger with Chinese medicine, that the treatments are more complete and the results are able to stick. And there's certain limitations to technology for sure. We hear lots of stories that we're in awe of the ability of the body to heal itself if it has the resources. So in the case of your cat, we've heard other things. We could probably tell a few stories. But it's like, we don't know how that happens. I mean, if we could write a program or have it so everybody had that experience, we would do that, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's just amazing what physiology can do if it has enough energy. Like, it has a self-healing corrective mechanism internally in it that is kind of awesome.
Yeah, that's my mission statement: helping the body heal itself. When you give it what it needs, it can do amazing things. And then other times there are things we have to work through and we choose not to. Guess what? We're not going to change no matter what kind of service you put on or what kind of nutrition you take. You still have to do the work. you still have to do that. Yeah, it's not a miracle. There's no miracle pill or technology that I've found. You still have to take care of yourself and listen and have that connection. Yeah. So what exactly would you say, I have some questions for some of my clients, what exactly would you say is happening to the frequency of, say, a cell phone or a Wi-Fi router? What's happening to the frequency? Is it changing the frequency? Is it going to change how their Wi-Fi works or how their cell phone works?
No, it doesn't change the way it works at all. As we said, if it's in your home, if it's nearby, like within the FLFE environment, the level of consciousness of the device goes up. So you might, like if you put your hand on your router, it might feel pretty good. So as the level of consciousness goes up, there's a subtle energy change. So it's not, as Clayten said, it's not a frequency you could measure with a traditional meter, but you could measure it with a GDV camera. So with that increased vibration at this higher level, as we said before, the antenna is broadcasting this energy, and the energy is positive for the environment. It raises the consciousness of the environment.
Nice.
So it's not really changing the frequency as, the EMF, specifications that are needed for it to work properly. It's not changing that.
Right.
Yeah, all of the original equipment manufacturer specifications it's able to operate within those. The OEM, they call them specifications. That haven't noticed anything. If anything, it's an improvement but we haven't even really identified that. I thought I'd mention that if for those who are into kinesiology, if you have the regular FLFE service and then you just turn off the EMF for a while, if you test the level of consciousness of property, the average property goes up 4 points now because of the devices in the environment having a higher level of consciousness that they're emanating. So it's 4 to the power of 10. So if you had like $100, that would be 100 times 10, 1,000 times 10. You know, it's a lot of dollars.
So if you test it with EMF mitigation off, and then you test with it on, it goes up 4 points.
Goes up about, yeah, the average home.
Yeah.
Wow, just like that.
Yeah, I mean, the service typically takes like the average home, say, well, in North America, where we're talking in, let's say the average home was pre-COVID was about 420. It would go to 560, so that's 420 to the 140th power. So that's
that's a big step in consciousness.
that is enormous, and that's part of the reason why we also built into the control panel that you have access to once you've been on the free trial for a couple of days. We've tested the property. We have something called a consciousness slider, and so what you can do is you can slide the level of consciousness of the property up to 570, or you can slide it down all the way to 400. So if you feel it's a bit intense, you can slide it down, or if you want to experiment with what feels best for you. You know, the mission is to create the optimal conditions for the evolution of consciousness. And one of the ways to do that is to give you the tools to be your own consciousness researcher. So you can slide it up and down, you can turn the EMF on and off, you can turn your service, you know, the whole thing on and off. So we're trying to build as many tools into it to empower you to have your own experience.
I love that. And I love the boost also.
The boost.
Yeah, so you can actually boost it up higher if you wanted to for, what is it, 30 minutes? I think it's like a 30-minute boost you can do on your phone or your...
In a property, it's 30 minutes. On a phone, it's 5 minutes at right now, because if you're on, say, an airplane and you boosted the phone, you know, it would take a lot of energy. So we have some energy requirements there. And we hear so many creative ways people are using the boost. We had somebody on a webinar saying that they have an autistic child. Autistic spectrum is how they said it. And it's been very helpful. The boost has been very helpful when the child's having a difficult time. Another man just said that when it's homework time and there's a lot of friction and things happening, the boost really helps there. Just kind of smooths things out and provides more energy for that. People use it for just being in a loving relationship, just being with their loved ones and wanting to just have a special moment together, or a crunchy moment, right? You know, there's something we need to talk about.
Ooh, I think we need to boost some loving energy up here. That's awesome. Yeah, and for those of you who aren't familiar with kinesiological testing or muscle testing or the Hawkins consciousness map, stay tuned for the next webinar I'm going to have. I'm actually going to kind of help you learn some of that, and so you can do some of the testing yourself once you practice with it. So I'm going to walk you through that and what that means and how to do it and that sort of thing. So that'll be exciting. For a lot of fun to teach that. So I have another question. So a lot of research has come out on, well, don't put your cell phone in your pocket for men, or, you know, on you and that sort of thing. So have you noticed, or can you speak to, is it safer with the FLFE now to put the cell phone in my pocket or on me? I know that when I tested with the kinesiology, huge difference. So without the FLFE service, their whole body, their whole bioenergy just drops. They can't hold a muscle up. And then when I put the service on the cell phone and then put that in their pocket, they're strong as can be.
Yeah, I mean, that's one form of evidence there about it is the kinesiology testing. Is it positive for you? Is it negative for you? And the other is how we feel.
Yeah.
You know, does it feel good to hold the cell phone close to you?
Okay.
personally, I keep it by me all the time, because in the cell phone service, which we call FLFE everywhere, there's a bubble of around 4 feet around the phone that's at 575 on the Hawkins map.
Okay.
So the energy is flowing in. We don't guarantee that it's at that level because of geopathic stress and other things, but you're on an airplane, you're flying, you're on a car, right? Yeah. But that energy is flowing into that space. So I like to be in that bubble. And then within that 7 to 10 feet is where the EMF mitigation is happening.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So if you just have a phone on the FLFE service, then you would want it close. It doesn't have to be on though. You could turn it off.
You can turn your phone off and it's still working, is what you're saying.
Yep. Okay. So unique identifier is the cellular phone number for that device in that country. And if you've got the SIM card in for that phone number, it's identified, for the universe that is the only phone that has that.
That has that unique identifier.
Yeah. So if you are uncomfortable, you could turn it off.
Okay.
But we're finding, and so we haven't done, there's no exhaustive like biological studies that we've done, and with double-blind studies. It's really around kinesiology, GDV cameras, plant studies that we've done. They're on the evidence page. And then people's experience in the field. And so we've done a lot of surveys. Like when we brought up the EMF mitigation, we did a survey before and after. We had a group of customers that said, I'm really sensitive to EMFs. I want to help you test it out. And so it's on the website in the EMF mitigation, also in the evidence page, where a big change in sleep, that's where we saw like a big change in better ability to sleep, lower anxiety, lower feeling of stress, brain fog. We saw a reduction in brain fog happening.
Wow.
So mental acuity really was increased. So that's another form of evidence. It's looking at a group of people's experience.
And does it have to be on a phone, or can it be on, because the FLFE everywhere doesn't have to be a phone. It could be a watch or a piece of jewelry or something, correct? Does one work better than the other?
No, it could be on an object like a pendant or a necklace or a watch, anything, yes. To say it works better, actually, because the phone is emanating a frequency, it's probably a little bit higher just around the phone because it already is sending out energy and it's getting harmonized, but it's kind of a nominal amount. But if you want to get technical, which sometimes we can get pretty technical, it's a minute. And when with the phone, there is a 300-foot bubble around the phone. It's not just 4 and 7 to 10 feet. It's 555 out of 1,000, 300 feet from the phone. So a lot of people notice when they go into their coffee shop or they go to a restaurant or in public, people are kind of more friendly, and you're helping all those people around you, right?
Yeah.
So it's creating this. So when you're trying to create this really protected area, you have to start way out there to harmonize, to adjust all the energies coming towards you. So it's about a 300-foot bubble around the phone. And so I did notice that when we first got the FLF Everywhere service, because we wanted to take it with us everywhere. And what I noticed is that our office was right across from this coffee shop, and we'd go over there for a tea or coffee. And when we walked in, it's like the whole place just felt happier. We always got good service, and it was. And then, of course, after a little while, you get acclimatized to that.
Yeah.
You just get used to it. It's like if you have a bit of a kink in your leg, you just adjust the way you walk over the years, and it's not the best thing to get used to. But we're so adaptive humans, right? We just adapt. So sometimes there was all occasions where I forget my cell phone and I'm out and about in the world, and it's like, geez, something doesn't quite feel right. And then it's not until I get home.
Why is everyone so grumpy today? Oh, I forgot
that's missing. It's like,
yeah, we need to get your ring on as an object. Then it doesn't matter if you have your phone with you.
Yes. Yeah, it's like, the cobbler who has, his son has no shoes. It's like, I don't have it on my ring that I usually wear. So kind of like, this mad scientist who forgets to, take his own medicine sometimes.
It happens to the best of us for sure.
So the object
Awesome.
is the same. And so it goes back to the unique identifier. So with the cell phone, we said it's this phone number in the jurisdiction. And with the object, it's a photo of, high resolution, good lighting photo, on a white piece of paper without anything else in the image, that you can really identify what that object is, for the universe. I mean, there's only one like that.
Well, everything
With
is
those
energy,
scratches.
right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Awesome.
that field is activated around that unique device, whether it's a phone or an object. And then, of course, if you use a necklace, if your phone's close to you, it's going to be emitting, harmonized EMFs. So.
Nice. And can you get too much? Like everybody in the house had their fluffy everywhere on their cell phones, and the house is on. Can you get too much consciousness going? Too much of a good vibration going?
Well, it doesn't multiply. Yeah, so people ask that, like, can I get more if I add more on? And but it just doesn't work that way.
That's too linear.
It's just a nice environment. And then, some people, when they first come on FLFE, they have the best sleep they've ever had. And some people, like, I'm so excited, I can hardly go to sleep. Mm-hmm. So that's why we have the slider, because there is that acclimation period that can occur where your body gets used to, so there is that acclimation period that occurs where the body gets used to the additional energy available. So that's why we have the slider, the consciousness slider.
Yes, I bet that's fun to play with. So mm-hmm. and experiment with. I've been doing that with my niece and nephew. So I'll turn it up and down when they're doing sibling things, and just to kind of see if it helps them in any way. So it's really interesting. It's really fun to do that. Let's see make sure I've got all the questions here. And let's see. Well, I'd like to talk a little bit about geopathic stress. And a lot of the work I've done with Vastu, that can be an expensive one to try to remediate. So I love that that you've done a lot of work with this and included this in the service. Can you talk about that?
Well, I'll start it off, sure, and hand it back to Jeff. Mm-hmm. Well, Jeff said earlier about the electromagnetic frequencies, the consciousness lowering ones, and noticing that some properties were just going down for a reason we couldn't figure out until we talked to the customer. Mm-hmm. We had the same thing with geopathic stress zones. We would find that some properties were really hard to get up to the level of 560, or all of a sudden they'd go down. Mm-hmm. And so I'll just tell you some stories. God, we've had so many good stories with this stuff. So there was this one place in Ontario, Canada, and I was brought up in Ontario, and they had a lot of rain. It was kind of flooding. And those strips on the road, those rumble strips they call them, they help you stay within the lines?
Oh, yes.
We've got so many stories about geopathic stress. So, yeah, so you go bump, 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 right?
Yeah.
So what happens is when the water table was way up right by the road, when people were hitting the rumble strips, it would create a negative vibration. It would go throughout the whole area. And this person's home was dropping in consciousness because of all the traffic. Like something as simple as that. You didn't even think about that, right? We were like, just like racking our brains trying to figure out what this was. And this lady, God bless her, she's had like 3 or 4 unique geopathic stress zones. There was one where we figured out that she had a renovation done on the house, and they'd taken some rebar and other material, metal material, and they just buried it in the yard. That's what sometimes people in construction do, right? And depending on the water table, if the water came up, and it because of the soil acidity in the area, if it activated with the rebar and the metal, it would create, and the water was kind of moving through the water table, it would move positive energy away from the house. Mm-hmm. So we had to write a program to compensate for that. So I'll let Jeff tell some, get into the technical parts, but I thought I would tell you a couple of stories that, were just like way out there. And there's more.
We love stories.
Well, with the FLFE system, with the service, as we've said, we can direct energy places. So with the geopathic stress, once we discover what it is that's either pulling energy away from the house or adding maybe chaotic energy to it, to the property, then we can add additional energy to it. So we had a customer that they had a condo, and the basement, there was a basement bedroom, and it felt terrible, and they couldn't sleep in it. So they eventually decided to sell it, you know, because they got a bedroom they can't use.
Yeah.
So they went on the FLFE service to see if they could, you know, if it would help, and it was still low in that area because we hadn't, you know, mitigated that stress that was there, whatever it was. So after, you know, some intuitive work on it, some kinesiology testing, we discovered there was an underground stream, and there was a little waterfall under that bedroom. So the water was moving along, and then it went straight down, and it was pulling that energy
Sucks it right down.
and it was very low there. It was like not, it was like life-threatening. You know, you would not want to be there for long. So we made the command to add more additional energy so that more energy was coming in than was taken away. Bedroom went up to, you know, in our measurement of the level of consciousness, it felt fine to them, and then they sold the house right away. So there's, you know, your body feels it, you can test it with kinesiology, and in some cases it's much larger scale, like in San Diego and other places in California, there were big bays where there's shipping, and there's water tidal movement, and, you know, big propellers of big shipping ships causing these vibrations that would lower the level of consciousness periodically. So you could test it at one point in time, that's fine. Test it another point in time, it's low. So it's that level of consciousness, you know, so that's why we measure over a period of time.
Yeah, many people have never even heard of the word geopathic stress, because we don't even think about where we're placing a house. Is there lots of traffic? Is it coming right at you? Are you at a stop sign or what have you? And what's going on under the foundation and flying above you even, you know, things like that. And which way your bedroom's facing and your front door, the feng shui, the vastu, the geopathic stress, all of that plays into energy. That energy we talked about, you can't see it, so you out of sight, out of mind. But people don't realize it's affecting them. And there's lots and lots of studies that were done, especially if you look up, you know, vastu and earth energetics and geopathic stress, where the whole family would catch the same, you know, develop the same disease. You know, cancer is a big one, you know, that all of a sudden everyone in the house is getting this, and no one even thinks of, well, wow, it could be the energy going on in my house, and they move and then they all heal. What's up with that? So there's a lot of research out there that you can find on that when you get that energy right, you create that healing sanctuary.
And we have a lot of customers in Eastern-based cultures, and they refer to FLFE sometimes as energetic feng shui. They feel it's like, you know, and regular feng shui is really good. The average, according to our research, the average home that has been feng shuied by a professional, kind of high-level feng shui person, it goes up 40 points on the Hawkins map of consciousness. That's significant. That's worth doing.
So it does work, it can actually enhance it if you did both then?
Yes, there is a cumulative effect. If you add 2 FLFE subscriptions, you don't get double the energy. But if you have your house feng shuied and have it on FLFE, it is very likely, it's not guaranteed, but it will be higher than even the service can provide, because there is a physical, energetic relationship to the land. Like, I know I've had most of the homes I've lived in the last 15 years feng shuied, because the first time I did it, I thought, wow, this is for real. And you know, they put crystals in the ground and they'd move furniture around, and they'd have to come back 3 or 4 or 5 times sometimes before they felt comfortable saying, okay, we're 90% of the way there, and the last 10% is really expensive. You know, like making your door a foot wider or something like that. You know, it gets
Yeah,
to be
yeah.
pricey. But yeah, we have lots of, like what we'll do in our research for the programs, Tracy, is we'll find like medical manuals, and we'll test the level of conscious of the doctor, we'll test the level of conscious of their perception on a subject, and then we'll reference their research to help us energize food properly, nutritionists. And we'll get out geopathic stress manual, feng shui books, and we'll go through them with, like, we're trying to figure out why this one house is going down, and it was the rumble strips. You know, like sometimes we don't know what it is, and we're just like researching and researching. And what we do is if the property is not at 560, 98% of the time or higher, you get it for free until we fix it.
Wow. I love that you test that. You test that not just once, but you test
Every
it
week.
often.
Yeah, every week, because it changes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that it's such fabulous integrity that your company has. I just find that just brilliant, just brilliant. So with that, then you've got brain optimization and immune support. I've read a lot about that and watched some videos on that in your learning center. So you actually have a learning center tab where anyone that has more questions can literally just tap on that tab, and you've got webinars and videos to answer all sorts of questions that they might have. Plus, you know, I'm available too, so they could email me from my website, and I'd be happy to, you know, answer any questions or pass them on to you if I couldn't answer them. But there's lots of resources for people to go to, right?
Yeah, there sure is. Yeah, the evidence page too, but like the EMF mitigation page has got a lot. And then, like you said, the Learning Center. Yeah, the brain optimization was an interesting one. You know, we mentioned the survey that we did and the results that we saw on brain fog. So that was a clue. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a clue that there's a connection between, you know, the function of our brain and this EMF environment that we're in all the time. And so we added that soon after EMF mitigation as a way to kind of bring us back. So what it does, it's the request to have additional life force energy, chi, in the parts of the brain that need it the most. So if you're using a part of your brain, like if you're, you know, working hard on something, there's a study in the evidence page with IONS, the Institute of Noetic Sciences, where we activated an FLFE field in their facility, in their discovery lab, and they had people wired up, and they saw an increase in alpha activity when the FLFE field came on. So there was, and they had an increase in the performance on a cognitive test with the FLFE service on. It was a significant difference. So that assistance is kind of comes with the EMF mitigation. All of these things we're talking about are on all the different types of subscriptions. The Smarter EMF is a little bit lower level of consciousness. It's at 500 instead of 560, also guaranteed. But it has EMF mitigation and brain optimization as well. So that was really came as part of that because of the effects that we've had, it seems, over time. And we're not making medical claims, but you know, there's some evidence there with ions of what occurred. And we had two experiments with them where we activated a field in their facility, and the other one was with random number generators in a completely shielded room. You know, how many layers of metal it had, but it's a Faraday cage shielded room, and we activated an FLFE field within that room, and we affected the random number generators in that room during the experiment. So that we'll do a follow-up. There may be a follow-up on that experiment, but they saw a significant change.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. But I'm going to be working on some live blood cell analysis because I think that would be fun to see how that works before and after. Yeah.
Yeah, we'd love to see that. That'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else, Clayten, on that?
Well, we have a lot of respect for the human body and each individual's innate intelligence. And we also believe in getting multiple types of evidence from different sources. and being transparent about, okay, if you do put the EMF mitigation on, we haven't found most standard devices reflect any change in the environment. Like we had somebody come into our office when we were developing this, and they had 7 of the different devices, and I should probably put that picture on the website. And they didn't really notice much of a difference in the environment. It was hard to tell. So you have to find the technologies that are designed to measure subtle energies.
Right.
And probably the best device that's ever been created to measure subtle energies is the human body. So it's not that we want to empower people actually to trust themselves. And the purpose is to create the optimal conditions for human evolution. And the conditions are that you're encouraged to trust yourself and to evolve in a way that works for you. And some people have a gift of being thick-skinned. And thank God for them, because we need those in the world. You need those thick-skinned people that just keep going, right? They're not maybe that sensitive. So when they turn it on, they go, well, you know, I get all the theory and it makes sense, you know, and I see all the evidence. I just don't notice it. But my pets are so calm, I'm just going to do it anyway. Or, you know, my plants are just like, I never had plants this beautiful. Or my wife notices, or my children change, or my husband changes. And some people just don't notice and they don't subscribe, and that's okay. We're really not here to sell subscriptions. We're here to help raise our consciousness as a collective on the planet. And this is the best way that we feel we can do it at this time, but we're trying to empower people. And, you know, we want you to trust your own experience first.
I love that. I love that. That's my goal too. Empower people to fabulous health, and that's what it's all about. It's empowerment and helping each other. And I love how service to others you are. You don't just say it. You live it. Your company is a fabulous example of that. Right down to, even if you do subscribe, you get to pay a whole subscription forward to wherever you want, correct? So
the pay it forward, the PIF or pay it forward subscription, it's at 500. It doesn't have all, you know, the enhancements, but yes, you can put it anywhere in the world, and people think very carefully about that, because it goes on and it stays on for as long as we are going to offer this service. And each subscription you have, you get one. And people have put it on, you know, of course, political, you know, Houses of Commons or Congress, but they've also done churches, schools, hospitals, prisons, police stations. You know, there's, you know, local landmarks for them where they feel people need support in a loving environment. So to be in that 500 on the Hawkins map is kind of the start of a loving environment. And it is much higher than the standard in North America, you know, 420. But, you know, during some of these things that have occurred recently, the LOC, the level of consciousness has been lower in the country. So that contrast is even more so. So
the more and more pay it forwards that are out there, we're working together at raising the consciousness.
Yeah, that was
harmonizing the planet. Yeah, and you also do a lot of other work. You do a lot of just service work. That's kind of how you got started, isn't it?
I'll let you go, Clayten. Yeah.
Yeah, when Jeff and I came across this technology, we're kind of gearheads, you know, we like mechanical things and pulling wrenches once in a while. And when we came across the technology, Jeff and I were working together in another way, and I said, man, you got to meet this inventor and see this technology. It's like really cool. So we flew up and we met him, and maybe Jeff will tell the experience of the first day we were in the house. I love the way Jeff tells his story. And, you know, we started experimenting with this, and it was pretty rudimentary at the time. We've really taken it to a level. It's like the Model T versus a Tesla or something, you know. They're both cars, but they're different cars.
Yeah.
And so we were experimenting with technology, and we were going on Google Earth just previous to 2012 for about a year. We were going on Google Earth and testing the lowest consciousness place on a continent with kinesiology. We were putting a really low level subscription on. It wasn't as sophisticated at the time. And there's this thing called the law of non-interference, where you don't have the right to do anything you want. You have to test if it's in the highest and best interest of all creation. And right around 500 and below, you can add a positive influence anywhere. That's the delineation for us. Whereas when you get above that, the body starts to really increase its cellular regeneration, as our perception. So you need more water. So there's an obligation that somebody in the environment knows the service is on and encourages others to drink water. So we were putting this, what we call the critical factor of the continent on. That's where you can do the least amount of, add the least amount of energy to the most amount of good. We were trying to raise the planet prior to the 2012, experience, whatever that was going to be. And yeah, we did that for a whole year before we even thought about making it a business. We just wanted to help the world have the best possible transition in 2012 that we could. And that was how it all started.
Wow. But how did you discover this technology?
Well, I was having a very serious health problem at the time, and I was using kinesiology to test the level of appropriateness of different, so I had a more alkaline diet. I started drinking more alkaline water. I started taking massive doses of digestive enzymes. I probably should have been talking to someone like you, but I was talking to a few people like you, like probiotics, those massive vitamin C doses. I was doing everything I could. And then I got into these nonlinear technologies. And there's quite a few of them out there, and there's more and more all the time. So I started testing the level of appropriateness of these technologies to help with my health condition. And this one type of technology worked really well. And it turns out the most powerful technology, or the most powerful machine of its kind with this technology, and it was a few other technologies that were combined with it, this inventor had created. So we spent a lot of time together. I helped him with his invention, and he helped me a lot. He might have saved my life. Hard to say. Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, I was pretty low. So that's how we came across it. He's since passed. Yeah, much gratitude to him.
Yeah. Beautiful.
So we've taken that service ethic, that we started with, and like you mentioned, the pay it forward subscription is part of that. So each subscriber can participate in that, in that giving back to all of creation. And we also do a lot of other work, kind of bigger scale projects. And there's a tab on the website. It's actually a donate page, but there's a lot there about the service projects that we do. We support whales and dolphins in their environment. We support bees. We did a lot of release, kind of clearing of the negative history and support of concentration camp locations and other atrocity locations, because those areas are really, quite low as you measure them, and there's a lot of consequences to that. So that was another service project. So we look for where we can do the most good with what we have, and it's just part of how we continue the business. And so we're running the business as a spiritual path for us. That's probably a whole nother webinar, but and we have the service component, and really subscribers are what help that to to keep going. I mean, we could have continued to do it ourselves, but it wouldn't have grown to the size that it's grown in all the countries that we're in now, all over the world, where people are on the service and are doing the pay it forward. The reach has gotten, so much larger than we could have done on our own. And that was really the reason to go into business and make it a service people could participate in.
I love that. I love that. And much gratitude for sticking with it and getting this technology out for all of us to share. And I love that you're constantly working on it. It's you're just striving to always make it better and better for humanity and all the creatures and plants. So I thank you for that. I do love that. That's one of the biggest reasons I wanted to partner with you. And I know you just don't bring every partner on that asks. So I really do appreciate that, and look forward to all the great things we're going to do in the future. And hopefully you'll come back on and we can talk some more and learn some more. Is there anything else that you want to add that we didn't talk about, or?
I guess this is a closing word section. Yeah, we're grateful to be working with people like you, Tracy, and I appreciate the fact that you took a year to experiment with it. I mean, not that people need to do that, but
No.
you're a doctor and you have a professional reputation, and we have a lot of doctors and professionals on the service, and they're very very well educated, very sophisticated people, and they put it to the test, and we welcome that. It is non-linear and it's somewhat unusual. And the reason that we don't go into the details of what type of technology it is that we do try to do what's in the highest and best interest of all creation. That's actually a kinesiology inquiry. This is in the highest and best interest of all creation, or what we're holding in mind is. And then you can start to play with that. You can try to test how appropriate it is. And it's never tested as appropriate or true for us to share the details of the technology and how it works at a certain level. So it's not that we're trying to be evasive about it or to not respect people's natural curiosity, but what the technology is, it's just that's what presented itself to us as the best truth. So I thought that might be worth saying. I'd love to come back on, and we could talk about geopathic stress zone for a whole. We have so many stories.
We could talk for
there's so many
day.
Good stories. Some of the weirdest anomalies you could imagine. It's just really fun figuring them out,
Well, what I love about this is when I would do Vastu Feng Shui, they're very similar. It's expensive. It can get really expensive and unaffordable for people. And so I love being able to do this because I can just tweak little things with this service on, and they don't have to spend thousands and thousands. They don't have that. So just doing little tweaks here and there, and then adding the service, it's amazing. It really is. And what you're offering, you've got brain optimization and helping the immune system and helping, get better nutrition out of your food and helping harmonize EMFs. I mean, I could go geopathic stress. I could go on and on and on that your service does for just monthly. That's amazing.
Yeah, I think the $35 a month where it is now, it's just we've built so much value into the service, and it's because we're on it, all of our families on it. We love our customers, and we just keep making it better. If something comes up, like EMFs became an issue for us, I mean, there seemed to be a critical moment where things really started to lower in consciousness. So we made the change. We added it to the service, and we encourage you to try the free trial. There's no credit card. There's no automatic billing. You just get it on, and you get on the control panel, experiment, play with the things we've talked about, and it's just our gift to you to try that. So we really encourage people to do that, and tell them how to get on and through your site. We're just really grateful for the chance to be with you, Tracy, and for this partnership together.
Well, thank you. Yes, they can just go to my website, which is www.myenergywellness.com. And there's actually an EMF mitigation tab. Just click on that tab. It'll take you to the free trial, and you can read all about it and watch videos whatever you need to do to feel comfortable trying it out. And then please do let me know, send me an email, give me a call. let me know your 2-week experience so that I can share that with Clayten and Jeffrey. So I encourage you to do that. Feel free to email me and ask questions, or leave your comments on what you've tried. I'd love to hear that. Yeah. So anything else, guys? I know you've got other things you probably have to do. I'd keep you all day if I could.
Yeah. No, thank you again.
Sure
Appreciate it.
thing, sure thing. Awesome. Well, much love and many blessings to both of you, and much gratitude for all you do.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.